Welcome to Right to the Point. I'm the guest host. My name is the Reverend Lashley from the People's Community Baptist Church located in Silver Spring, Maryland. It is my distinguished honor today to introduce the spiritual head of the United Nation of Islam, His Honor, Royall. It is a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'd like to begin with a statement. In our universe, we are taught that to every living organism, there is a cell, and that the center part of that cell is a nucleus. And I want to begin to understand today, or to begin our conversation with a bit of an understanding of who you are. And I want to direct my questions in that light toward the man known as Royall. Who are you, sir?
Well, based on what you laid out, I'm the nucleus of that which is to be right, new, the righteous kingdom, the builder. I'm the nucleus of that. And from that will be magnified on out to everyone that wants it. That's who I actually am now. As far as what the spiritual community or religious community, how they see things, I'm the one that everybody's expecting to come, although they don't believe it. So, in essence, that's who I really am.
Tell me about your beginnings. Where were you born, and what was the nature of your family? What was that like?
Well, to answer the question, where I was born is in Winsboro, South Carolina, not too far from Charlotte, North Carolina. However, a person that is actually a divine person, or is ordained by the Supreme Being to do a particular thing, it is very difficult for him to point to, or her to point to, a father and mother in the sense of a normal life expectancy of parents, simply because the duties that he has to perform cannot be contributed to his parents. So I know I have parents. I didn't meet my mother for a while. I saw my biological father once for about 10 minutes. By that time, I was already 18 years old. So that's the process of how things usually go when someone has a divine mission to carry out. In other words, they're like free of any attachments to anything other than the duties that they're here to do or perform. So I know my mother's name and my father, but as far as having any dedication and loyalty and any real remembrance of them, there isn't. It don't exist. I almost fit the description of Joshua, the son of Nun. We already got the spirit, so.
Any siblings growing up?
Yes, sir. I have a twin sister. I have a couple other brothers also, and I had another sister. For the lack of knowledge, she passed, I think, at about 19 years old. But even those, even knowing of them, there were no relationship. I have a brother that's the older in the family, and he's an elder in the house of prayer. I don't know him either. We visit, we used to, but as far as having a family tie where there's real relationships and real experiences, we grew up together, that only happened with my twin sister. And that's about it as far as family is concerned.
Tell me what your upbringing, your childhood was like. What kind of experiences, looking back or reflecting over your own life here, what stands out for you, particularly in your childhood?
Working with nature, working on a farm, it brings out a gratification because what is produced is a representation of what you put in it. And you have to know nature. You got, especially in this kind of area, it's not tropical, so you got to know when to plant, what to plant, or soil hold. You got to know all these things. So when you do it, and it actually you get to reap what you planted, it's a wonderful thing. It's like when you do that, it's like everything that you plant that it come up, it smiles on you. So it's not like a person. It's a set of laws that you you're following, and if you follow them right, they reward you. You know, so that is most. I remember that more so than any other thing in my life, other than I guess you say the real nitty gritty of what, you know, who I am, why I'm here, and what happened to bring it to this point. But as far as people going to school, I went to high school, elementary school, high school. I remember a few people. However, everyone that, when I was going to school, I was always told that I was very different. And I don't mean different in a way where most people say, well, you know, he's different. Not that kind of way. They could never describe the difference. They just liked it, you know. And at the time, by me growing, I couldn't describe it either. It was just me. So I didn't know how to describe it, have any comparison of this world and how I really am, like you say, made up genetically. Right. So I had to grow into that understanding to be able to associate it in such a way and explain it where it could be understood.
Was racism a factor that you had to contend with growing up? And if so, how did you find yourself dealing with that reality?
Well, racism, I experienced it through conversation. For the man that I worked with, he was Caucasian, and the farm that I worked on, my dad had a farm, and it was very small. So I could work the Caucasian's farm and come home at night and work with dad. So it wasn't very big. However, I would hear how he talked about the people, you know, our people, black people in our community. He would be talking to me or talking to his family, whatnot. He'd be talking about the black people in the community, and it was, you know, it was always very negative. So when he would refer himself or refer the idea to me, and I'd ask him a few questions, and he would say, "Roy, you'll see. You know, you're just young, you don't know, whatnot. You're not like the rest of them." And I would say to myself, you know, what do you mean them? I am one of them, you know. However, as far as his treatment towards me was very acceptable. And a matter of fact, he didn't allow no one in his family or no other white person, or as far as black is concerned, to do anything to me. And his wife was more protective for me than he was. So that was an experience that I lived, that we could say was in contradictory to what a lot of other black people experienced. But I knew it existed because he talked about it. He just didn't do it to me. If you understand what I'm saying. Right. So that was my experience with that. And I've gone to other places, and I've had a few white people look at me kind of sideways, but they never followed it up. You know, if I've had some people with me and a couple white people got smart with them, and I put them in check, and it seemed like it was always easier, like a world come over and say, I don't know what happened. You know, they just backed off it. I knew we had in the Nation of Islam, the messenger, Elijah Muhammad, had a farm down in Alabama. Matter of fact, it was bigger than a farm. It was almost like a plantation. And we had a lot of watermelons he grew there. And we were taking them from the farm into Montgomery to the train yard. Mm-hmm. You know, we was putting them on the boxcars and shipping them to different places, different cities. And I got a flat tire on the truck, and I stopped to get it repaired. And while I was waiting, you know, I asked the man, would he be able to repair it? He was under the car, he never said nothing, so I waited. And I had to be there at a certain time, so I asked him again. So he came out from underneath the hood of the car like, you know, I was his little puppy or something. He just went off. At first I said, what's wrong with him? But he had such a vengeful look. Now, this is in Alabama. And I don't know what came over me. I just lit him up. And the man that, he had a black man working for him. He looked like a slave, really. Right? He went over to start taking the tire off, because the tire that was flat was on the inside. So he had to take the outside tire off to get to the one on the inside. And he'd already took some of the bolts loose, because he heard me talking to the man. And so I told him, no, put it back on. He looked at me and I said, no, put it back on. So he put the tire back on. And the police station was right across the street from the place. So I went down to the next truck stop and had it taken off. But outside of that, I no real trouble out of white people. You know, personally.
Right.
However, I do know what they do.
Right. And you said Montgomery, Alabama.
Yes, sir.
I have had the distinct opportunity this day to somewhat commemorate the life of Rosa Parks.
Yes, sir.
Was that something that you were familiar hearing about growing up? The activity of Rosa Parks
yes,
at that time?
Yes,
and your reaction to that, even at that time in your life?
Well, not just her, all of the particular people that found themselves in a struggle, especially for equality, right? Equal rights, what they call. I always thought, well, what they were doing, it was a good cause. The way they were going about it wasn't going to be successful. You know, you can know a thing, but don't be in a position to actually do anything about it. You know, that's what I experienced. To me, it let me know this is a cry from a people to another people for justice. But when the people can't, it won't do that. So it should be another course they should have taken instead of, you know, having Dr. Martin Luther King and things that happened to him and the people that were with him was totally uncalled for to get the results done because Elijah was there at the time. So we could have easily done what we're supposed to have done for ourselves. But to make sure that white folks had no excuse, we went through all these particular things to make sure that if they really wanted to, they had the opportunity to do it. It wasn't that we didn't ask. We asked for justice. We demanded it. We marched. We did everything but took up guns to try to make them give us justice. So at this particular time now, they cannot say we didn't do everything that was humanly possible to achieve justice for ourselves. So that's what I thought then. I somewhat knew it wasn't going to be successful what Rosa Parks did. Okay, you're in front of the bus now, so what? You know, it's nice that maybe that we can do that, this feeling from our own self, but the man that actually has the power to determine what we feel controls everything. You know, he makes the bus. He makes the seats in the bus. You know, he makes the doors to the bus. He makes the gas for it and everything. He makes the streets for the, you know, the bus stop. He do all that himself. So we do nothing but ride them. So if this is all we want to do is ride in the front,
no big deal, right?
No big deal. You know, no big deal.
Tell me a little bit about your educational background.
Well, I graduated.
And then with that, I don't mean to interrupt you, and with that, maybe if you have a critique of the educational system in this country too, I'd be glad to hear about that too.
Oh, yes, sir. Well, I graduated from high school to 12th grade. However, what I learned there, really, it was nothing. You know, especially what I know now. And the educational system in this particular country is one that serves a tyrant. And it either make you a tyrant or it will not allow you to become a civilized person. It dummies you down. And that's why you can look in the street. In other words, the system has reached its zenith. So the only way it can go now is down. So, and this is why we are witnessing all these different tragedies in school from young people. Because they're not being taught anything. They're being dumbed down. You know, if they were being taught in such a way where everybody almost knew how to put something together to go to the moon or go out in space and come back. Not just a select number of people. You know, it's almost like they're secret. You know, the knowledge that they got and how they utilize math and whatnot, they've been taught in an elitist form or whatnot. But however, the average man, he's so far from that the ones that are doing that don't even associate with them. So that's something that should not be. You know, they put on the screen, on the TV, and advertisement, you know, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. But they're the one that wasted them. If you understand what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying. Tell me now how you came to discover your mission. How you came to the understanding of who you were, and who you are, I should say, rather.
I accepted Islam the way that Elijah put it out. And it fits so well. It was like, this is me. It wasn't like, this is what I like. This is me. So naturally, I accepted it. I went through the process like everyone else. I seen what was taking place and I loved it. The building and the business and the brothers and the activity. And we very seldom dealt with the Caucasian. We had a community, he had a nation going. So we had just about everything we wanted. We could go to it, and it was us that was running it. And I liked it, and the knowledge that he was sharing and hints and clues was really attractive to me. However, since when he passed, just before he passed, I sought to have an audience with him based on some of the things that were taking place in the nation. And he sent word that what I wanted to know and what I was actually doing wasn't time for it yet. Like my time would come. I said, okay. After he passed, I had quite a few people to actually come in and share things with me that only they could not have known it, period. They don't even think that way. I'm talking about people from 10 years on up to 100 years old, right? And some people that came, they were so out of the ordinary. One woman called up and she just had the meeting. She'd never seen me. I'd never seen her. And when we didn't make the meeting, and she insisted, you got to have this meeting. So I said, well. And she told me, she said, you're the real Solomon. So I asked her, and she told me about some things. And she don't deal in that. And shortly after that, I had a 10-year-old person to tell me some things that are still baffling me. I won't say it's baffling, but I understand it now. Just by that taking place, and he spoke so confirmed and so divinely, I knew it was true. Then after capping all of that, then I had 3 scientists that the messenger spoke about that operates the planet and operates the ships and other planes and whatnot. They actually came and collected me and gave me a tour of the whole universe. They gave me a little knowledge of everything in the universe, and even taking me into the sun. Most people think, they made a joke of that and everything, but it literally took place.
I come from somewhat of a background that permits me, not really permits me, but has allowed me to be somewhat ignorant of the things that you speak. You make reference to the 3 scientists.
Yes, sir.
Could you elaborate further on who the 3 scientists are? What is their distinct nature?
Well, they're referred to in Christianity or in the Bible as elders. The 20 and the 4 elders. Well, in real life, if we went to it like, say, well, if we just kept it at 20 and the 4 elders like in the past, like they had it in the past, but it don't exist now. Okay. That's not so. It exists now. So it was 3 of them. It wasn't the whole 24, right. Just 3 of them. It took 2 to operate the craft and 1 to converse with me. So that's who they are.
How long ago had you had this experience?
1978.
And undoubtedly it is an experience that marks your mind to this day. Have you had an opportunity to write about that experience?
I have an opportunity. Did I write about that? I don't think I've written about it. Because of the things that it's got 2 books right here that the nation has published. These are all my writings. Things that I do share, bear witness that I've been someplace. Right. If you understand what I'm saying. That kind of conversation to speak with people, they haven't been brought up to that kind of level yet. They're still thinking that UFOs and it's too spooky about things. Even I was kind of reserved about even saying that I was taken into the sun itself, because people don't, they just cannot conceive that. But it happened.
I've always heard the reference that in the Old Testament book of Ezekiel, the prophet Ezekiel, right, there is a reference to the wheel in the middle of a wheel.
Right.
And I'm wondering, is this the same reference to, is Ezekiel hinting at the same reality to which you were speaking about now in terms of craft?
Well, you're absolutely right. The language that you use hinting. And the Bible has a lot of hints and clues. I have the understanding of all of them. So now, instead of speaking in hints and clues, I speak literally exactly what it is. And most people, they back up away from it because they've been trained, they've been trained to think in fractions and never put them together. So yes, sir, exactly. That's exactly Ezekiel, the wheel that he spoke about. Yes, sir. I didn't go on the mother plane. I went on the wheel that was in the wheel.
And the distinction between the mother plane and the wheel in the wheel, could you elaborate on that?
Yes, sir. Well, the mother plane is a plane that has 1,500 little planes inside it. So that's why the big plane is called mother, because it houses these other little planes. The mother plane is a half mile by a half mile in diameter, but it's a mile deep. And it has these 1,500 little planes on it. And it was lifted off from this planet in 1927. 3 years before Master Prophet Muhammad, Allah showed up for Master Prophet Muhammad. Some people want to dispute that it was some other time, but it was 1927 that the plane took off. And it's been out in space, or wherever it wants to be from that time until now. However, it is for the express purpose of taking this planet back and getting rid of the man of sin. However, it is to also take instruction from the man that is actually the man. You understand what I'm saying?
How old were you when you had this awareness, this understanding of what you were here to do?
When I really understood, I would say I understood it back in 1973. However, there was nothing that was being done to confirm it. Right. The messenger was still here. I was still like a member or a follower in the nation. I never was a follower per se, because I could think. So I knew, but you have to have something to confirm what you know that you can move out on. Right? So I would say in 73 I knew it, and being able to actually move out on it was 78, or latter part of 70, going to 79. And that's when a few things had developed because what took place when the messenger passed, or we took him, his son Wallace came in, and in the Bible it's called, I think it was, Absalom. So Absalom, I think it's Absalom in the Book of Kings, right? You got Adonijah and Absalom, right? Well, Absalom had to come and actually test the people and see who actually was with his father. So after that period, he had 3 years to do that. So I was not to interfere with him. So if I came in, in other words, I already knew, but if I had the necessary things to confirm it, I would have interfered. As a matter of fact, they came and told me, do not interfere with him. I went to see him, and nothing worked out. So one of the scientists came to me and said, just leave him alone, don't interfere with him. And to make sure that I didn't, they sent to me a female. They dressed her up in righteousness and sent her to me to tie me up for the 3 years that it would take for him to do that. And after that, she showed who she really was. So we're not together now. Right. However, the duty was to keep me from interfering with Wallace. Right. And then after that, the things started to develop, would confirm who I really am.
You made reference to conversations you had with individuals early on when you were coming to the discovery of who you are and what your mission was. Your work is here. One of the references that you made was that one of the individuals referred to you as King Solomon.
Yes, sir.
What is meant by that? I'm aware of the biblical character King Solomon, and I'm wondering if that is what the person was speaking of when they made reference to you.
Well, yes, sir, and no, sir. The way she was speaking of it, like King Solomon, that was something to say, alert my consciousness to the divinity or to the level of my identity. However, if it's going to be spoken that way, it would be Solomon the king, not King Solomon. If you understand what I'm saying.
I understand completely what you're saying.
So this was her way of explaining to me or causing me to not abandon what other people were. All these signs were coming, not to just discard them, you know. And she gave me some scripture and whatnot, what to read. Matter of fact, I was driving tractor trailers then. I went and got a hotel room after I got to my destination. And I read the thing. I called her up and went over it. And I said, well, look, Solomon, we get to the 9th chapter with now Solomon. He wasn't too cool, you know. I don't see myself doing it. She said, oh, baby, don't worry about that. You know, white folks wrote that. And they always put themselves in it. You know, so when you get to that part, leave that alone. With you, that's not going to happen. I said, oh okay. So,
and you made reference to others who gave you confirming words or would share other things with you.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember some of those things?
I remember all of them.
Can you share some of them?
Yes, sir. You know, you asking some. You know, there are certain families that's very instrumental in making this come about, bringing about this change from wrong to right. You know, it's not just me alone. I'm just there, like you said, the nucleus. So, however, all of the families that is really close, that has any real power to make changes, has to be directly in contact with me. So, in other words, we have to be able to literally touch them. I have to be able to touch your thinking, so I can unleash the power that you do have, so you'll be able to use it. One of them was a sister that had, her and her husband had 10 children. And she had came to me and told me that, you know, that she was going to have to be with me and bring all of her children. And I said, no, you know, hey, forget that. You know, marriage is something very sacred to me. You are married. You know, nowhere in the world that's not going to happen. However, when I was being told the way I was being told, I knew it was true. I just didn't see how it was going to happen. I knew I wasn't going to put in nothing in motion to make that happen. So then we got a couple of their children, her children came and told me that they seen this and they had a dream, they had visions. I just kept saying, nope. And then they kept doing it. And then I had some other people outside of the family that didn't know any of us. And when they saw us together, they said, that's your wife and that's your family. We were standing on the temple steps in Chicago. He was there with them. I was there with mine. They said, this is your wife and that's your family. He was standing right there with them. I said, man, this is really getting heavy, you know. So anyhow, I finally came to the realization, well, if it is true, it'll happen. I'm not going to do nothing to make it happen. And it happened. I was out in California, and I delivered a load of freight there. Matter of fact, I was driving for Johnson & Johnson. I carried a load of product for them in California, and I was out in St. Mary's, California, sleeping overnight. And if you notice, quite a few of my teeth are missing. At that time, I had them, and I had one of the worst toothaches a man could ever have. Man, so I had to will it away. And I sat there at night, and it was cold. I mean, it was cold. Just like it is in this room. It's not quite that cold, but and something just come over me, you know, like everybody I talk to has got a wife, they got a family. I don't have nobody. I've been out all in the universe, and I've seen all these things, whatnot. I've been excited about that, and I've digested it, you know, to a point where I can take the next step. But I don't have no woman. Then the thought came, oh, why don't you call your sister? So I called my sister to tell her what I was feeling, my twin I was telling her. She said, guess who called? I said, so I called her name. She said, yeah. She said, it's about time that you were looking for her. I said, well, till I be in there. So when I came on back, we got together. I come into the realization what they are, what the children were for and everything. And I had another spiritual mother. Now, Like you introduced me to the spiritual head, that's right, of the United Nations of Islam, right? Right. So I had another spiritual mother right here in D.C. I used to drive trucks down here, bring the Mama Speaks and everything. Right here in D.C., we stayed in a hotel, and in the restaurant where I worked at, there was a sister there. What was really happening, the scientists that showed me all these different things were talking through different people. And since I was growing into being myself, if I ever became angry or whatnot, the scientists couldn't stop whatever I directed, pushed from me. They couldn't stop it. I'm the only person that they cannot stop. They can redirect it, but they can't stop it. Anybody else, they can stop it. They can cut the thought off, but they can't do that with me. So what they did, they caused me to become very fond of the sister because what they were telling me through her. And when I would go off out of her presence and do something, or something would kind of upset me and make me kind of angry, and I start to address it, then I would call her, and she could hardly talk. So after I finally figured out what was happening, they was directing the anger that I was directing to somebody else, to her. So she wasn't supposed to tell me what they were doing. I was supposed to figure it out. That was to put me in check not to do that. You know, I don't have to be angry with nobody because I got the power to do what I want to do. So I don't have to be angry. I got one person I would be angry with, that's all. That's Satan himself. Satan himself. Anybody other than that, I don't have no anger with them. You know, I can be disappointed. If I get angry, it's momentarily and I don't put nothing out. Right? So after I finally figured out what was happening, and I said, I asked her, I said, because I'm putting out this kind of energy, it's coming back to you. She said, oh, thank God you figured it out. Because you were killing me. I said, oh, I'm sorry. I went out to California again. The man that I worked with, he was the real Job that was in the Bible. You might say, well, how is that?
How is that?
People do come and go. You know, just because you're here now, I don't mean this is the first time you've been here. So the entity that Job was back then, the fullness of it was him. Then I was working with him. He had made me so angry. I called up, I tried to get him, and I couldn't get him. I got his wife. So, you know, I told her what to tell him and make sure let him know I'm going to be calling back. However, I just made it into Needles, California. It was so hot. And the phone was on the outside. When I picked the phone up to put it to my ear, it almost burnt the ear. That's how hot it was. It was 118 degrees. And so I wasn't pleasant even when I picked the phone up. So I went on down to Barstow, and I said, well, let me call, her name was Mary. I said, let me call Mary and tell her what that rascal did. I forgot. So when I called her, they said, she's in the hospital. I said, what? I said, oh God, oh. I don't put her in the hospital. That was the kicker. Right? From that day up to now, I didn't do that no more. When I called back again, she'd gone. She passed. So that really put me in check. Quit playing with that, you know. Right. So those are some of the things that really took place. And I went to California again, and I had a brother with me that the same person that I was telling you about, Job. Right? Job was a rascal. Everybody that worked for him except me, I mean, he was giving them hell. So they were taking huge equipment. Some people would go out and leave it, quit on the job, and get a plane back and leave the truck, and I had to go get it. You know, a whole bunch of stuff that confusion develops. So this brother was catching hell. He had a family. I said, well, you can go on out with me. So just like you asked me questions, he started asking me questions. I started telling him. So he got all spooky and everything. He wanted to get out of the truck. I said, okay, I won't tell you no more. So he kind of kept quiet. I did too. So that was the first, I drove truck for something like 27 years. That was the first load of lemons I ever hauled. I picked it up in Barstow, Oxford, California, going to Montreal, Canada. I'd already seen where I was going to have an accident. But I thought, it looked like when I had it looked like it was in Pennsylvania. But I thought to myself, that ain't going to happen. I'm too good at that. I don't have accidents like that. In the vision, it showed where, when I was about to have it, a mysterious fog came up. I couldn't see the road. And at the speed I was traveling, I couldn't stop, before I could actually see where I was going. And according to the vision, I ran off the road, and I had a brother with me in the sleeper. And I was bumping, and the truck was jerking and everything going down like the cliff.
Right.
And he was holding on in the sleeper. Holding on, just bouncing. So what really happened, on the way back, we got to Grant City, New Mexico. I started driving. He drove to there, and then I started driving. I went and had some, while we switched drivers, I went and had some strawberry shortcake. They had the strawberries with the biscuit and ice cream and whatnot. I ate that, and I got back in the truck and took off. And I don't think I got no more than maybe about 25 or 30 miles. And the weather was nice, and they were working on the road, doing a lot of construction on the road, and they had no shoulder. They had dug up, it literally was about that far drop from the pavement.
Okay.
And they had signs all up and everything, no shoulder, whatnot. And all of a sudden, here come this misty fog. It was like snowflakes, but it was real, real fine. And it come and blocked off everything. I couldn't see nothing. So I said, man, and I hit a bump. Bam! When I hit the bump, I swerved, I seen it, but I was right up on it when I seen it. And then everything went blank. So when I swerved and missed it, I ran off to the side. Right down through the medium. I couldn't pull it back on. So I said, well, I'll go across to the other side and stop it. I went to go across, and it was another pole or something in the medium that ripped the steering wheel. I couldn't steer it. It went across the highway and parked on the other side of the highway. Looking at it, looked like nothing was wrong. But the whole undercarriage was tore out. So when I got out, it knocked all these teeth, real loose and everything. And it was bad anyhow. So should I be saying all this?
Yeah.
All right, these are some of the things that happened before I actually, came to a standstill. As a matter of fact, I was already told, don't drive anymore.
How old were you at this time?
At that time, oh man, I don't even know now. I must have been, 38, 40, 42, something like that.
Okay.
Anyhow, I pulled across, and the steering wheel, from all the back. And he was in the sleeper. And it was just the way it showed it. He was back there he never came out. He was holding on. But he was up and down and whatnot, but he stayed back there. So when the truck came to rest, he was all right. But I had went up the steering wheel, hit me in the mouth, whatnot. I got a scar on the forehead from the sun visor. And the police came, and they called for the ambulance. One ambulance came. I got in the ambulance to take off, the transmission went out. They called another ambulance. It came. I got out of the ambulance and got into the other ambulance. It wouldn't start. They called another ambulance. It came. I got in. So they said, well, we're going to carry you to the hospital. So they carried me to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, they said, well, they're going to have to take me to a dental specialist. So that was all the way in Albuquerque, New Mexico, right? Almost 80 miles. However, the people that transported me was a husband and wife team. His name was Moses. And his wife's name was Irma. Now, Irma was a sister that told me things that I haven't got to the end of it yet. But it wasn't her that was telling me. So I said, oh, now I see. Everything is clicking. So I had the vision. It actually happened. And the people, to make sure that I got the message, because they told me, don't drive no more. So I said, well, no, this is before it happened. I said, no, well, I got to pay the rent, I got to pay my phone bill, I got to finish paying the car off, and they owe me no more than about $600-700 on the car. So I'll do that, and then I'll stop. But in the meantime, I'll just slow up real slow. But they didn't say that. They said, stop. So I asked them, I said, well, how am I going to make it? They said, well, you can take care of it. But I didn't follow the instruction. So I had the accident.
Right.
And then to let me know, here's Moses, right? Which Elijah is the fullness of, right? And here's Irma that told me, she invited me down to my hometown, which is in Eastern Shore of Maryland, down by Salisbury. And I went. And from about 4 o'clock until 12 o'clock midnight, she just told me a whole lot of things and pointed out a lot of things in the heavens and told me what I was going to be doing with it. In other words, what she was saying, there's no way in the world she knew what she did. Right? That was the question. That wasn't even my question, did she know what she is? But I was soaking it all in. And at 12 o'clock, midnight, right on the dot, we was inside. She said, I got to sing a song for you. And I know the sister couldn't sing because I remember her. Right? A brother came in, a town drunk, or a community drunk, stumbled in the door. He'd never been there. He just stumbled in. She just looked at it and said, get out. Her brother acted like he lost his high and everything and stood up straight and did a about face and stepped out. I was looking at it and I said, whoa. Then she said, I ain't heard nothing like that before or since. And you know, Patty is good, right? But Patty can't. She couldn't touch that. I ain't heard nothing like it since then.
To this day, looking back even on that experience, what do you believe was the source of her message, so to speak, to you?
Well, when you have a child, and to put it in its proper perspective, I am the man-child. I'm a man. However, even in the knowledge that I was acquiring, that actually fit me to be me, to actually for me to go into expressing this, I was still a child. Mm-hmm. So all of these different things took place to make sure that it properly nourished who I really am. So with these kinds of experiences, no one can come and tell me that I'm crazy. Because there's too many things that bear witness to what I really am and who I am. So I don't rely on what people say because they have been brought up and baptized in sin. So their whole mindset is shaped by that. So because they hear what I'm saying or doing, and then they want to come up and prove that it's not, it's impossible. Because I have too much experience, I have too much knowledge. I know the past, I know the present, and I know the future. I don't think it, I know it. So in these particular things, this is how, instead of having a mother and father like everybody else does, and then they grow up and, and they love mom and love dad. Well, I've had events, growing up with and in events that is profound and left a definite impression that makes sure that I'm not relying on anything to justify me as to who I am or what I am.
Most religions, when they speak about the kind of, I want to say transcendent experiences that you have had, but somehow, even in this conversation, I don't think that word fits the experiences you've had. I think they're more powerful than that. We speak of belief, but you use the word with such an absolute certainty. I even see it in your posture. No. I want, if you could you draw a distinction for me when you express that you know? Generally in the West, we say that if a person knows something, that they have facts by which they can prove it. But somehow I get the sense that there's a little bit more involved in that when you say no. If you could elaborate on that.
Yes, sir. It is advised that you are to get knowledge, wisdom, and all of that get understanding. Right. Well, I don't have to get it. I am that. So when I speak or whatever I do, I know what I'm doing. Most of the time, to allow someone else to learn so they will know what I know. I'm very merciful. That's why it says, God is always turning to mercy more so than any other attribute that he has. Because he has to, in order for the person to learn. It's like a parent with a child. You always got to be merciful with them because they're learning. And it's our duty to teach them. Well, I was taught through events and through signs and symbols and through a system and a method that's infallible. So that causes me to know that I know that I know. And I don't have the knowledge. I don't have understanding. I am that. So that's why I'm able to speak the way I speak and do what I do. And at this level of me expressing myself is very, very minuscule. Believe me. Very, very minuscule. For the lack of an expression, I'm I'm almost suffering in this posture of waiting to get to the next level. And what's determining the next level is the acceptance of our people. If they don't accept it, well then I got to take them out. I'd much rather they accept it, so it's taking me right to the limit, waiting for them to have some kind of drive for real knowledge that gives them real power, that takes them out of belief. Because all of the religions and everything that people, not even just religion, just in business itself. If you're dealing with a person, they say, well, man, I sure hope he come through with the deal. I believe he's going to be all right. I believe he's a good person. Never know. You know, so what you do, you draw up this elaborate contract and put all these stipulations in it, right, just to make sure that, you know, he can't escape out of it. Right. See, because you believe, you know, right. See, if you already knew the man, his word is bond. If you knew it, you don't need no contract. Just shake hands. That's it. Right. So that's why I got to suffer, like it says, suffer unto me the little children because for within them is the kingdom of heaven. Right. If it wasn't in them, I don't have to suffer. Just get rid of them and bring some new ones in. So in that posture, it's causing me to have I won't say anxiety. You know, I'm getting to the point now where I'm almost getting ready to have that kind of anger that I'm justified of putting it out to the people. I hear you. I hear you. So, you know, this may make a few people angry, but, you know, I don't have the luxury of doing things.
I understand that.
To please certain people. Right. You know, I went down down south. I've been all over this country for quite a few years. And Minister Farrakhan, or Minister Lewis, rather I say, people know him as Minister Louis Farrakhan. Right. Because of what he has done as far as calling himself ignoring this and making it like it's really nothing. And that he's the big wheel. Everybody has been looking at him to get something going. So they don't even know about me. You know, they never even look this way. If they hear about it, oh, well, that's something, you know, he's trying to ride on the minister's coattail. They never check. So because of that, and I'm going around causing things, you know, I'm trying to make it where people will understand, or have at least a thirst for knowledge to check. Right. Well, there's a time for everything. That's right. You know, that's in the Bible also. Right. That's right. So after doing this, then I started getting quite a few disrespectful remarks from people, and you know, from our people. White people never do that. So when I was down south this last time, I said, well, look, I'm going to send something from the Gulf, you know, on you all. For black people, right? Since you think this and you think that and you keep thinking I'm telling you. So that's what I did. You know, so I see the signs you didn't stop it, right? You know.
I understand that you've made another speech to that effect this past weekend as well.
Yes, sir.
Could you?
Yes, sir. Well, you know, we invited the people of the community and the officials, right? They're supposed to make living in the community, you know, pleasurable, right? You know, like the mayor, right, and the congressman, all this kind. You know, they're supposed to make living in their particular area comfortable for their citizens. So we invited them because it's very necessary that they are afforded the opportunity to participate in this. Not that we're going to be begging them to give us this. No, we're not asking them to give us nothing. You know, we're coming to offer them, this is what we're doing. Now, whatever you have that you can apply to this, we will most certainly be welcome and you will receive thus and so for it. So they usually do the same thing, promise to come, and at the last minute, you know, something always comes up. They have to break the promise, but it's at the last minute. It's always where you can't get nobody else to fill in. So a few came, most of them didn't after they said so. And then the few that did come, half of them left before I came up. So, you know, they're in a vicious cycle, right, of making sure that they hear nothing that's going to take them out of what they think is going to be a threat to them. Right. And the real threat is their reluctance to look other than where they are. If you understand what I'm saying. So, you know, it's like a person, most people coming out of their driveways get hit from the driver's side more so than the passenger side. Because they come like looking this way and they forget to look and they get hit. You know, so what I'm saying is these officials are looking one way and they're not looking the other way.
The way they need to be looking.
Where they need to be looking. They should look both ways. Right. Then they would say, oh, let me check this out. You know, Fred, hold this post down. I'll be right back. We'll check it out. They don't do that. They look after we sin. You know, we do all this legwork. We spend all this money to make sure to offer them the opportunity. They all act like they love what they see and they love what they hear and they love their people that's representing this. They make these promises, but they fall right back into the same old habit. When it comes to deliver, they all back up. So, I'm saying, the time is up for that. The time is up for that. If you cannot look into the past of what we're doing and see what we already have got accomplished, and you think that, well, we got to come in your community and do something first before you even look. That's not the way things are done. Right. You don't even teach that way. You teach history. To bear witness of what you're doing now has something that predates that justifies that. So, but they want us all to come into their community. You get this started first and do that, then we might look. No, it don't work that way. We've got something started that no part of the government helped us. Only the poor righteous that's with this, the members, they put the money in. And I directed them, just like it reads in Kings. I think it's in Kings, where I asked for the prayer, that I'll be able to guide them in and out of their affairs. And so the ones that's in the United Nations of Islam, I guide them in and out of their affairs. They're actually the ones that's building it. I'm directing this righteous kingdom. So they go out and put themselves on the line and make these invitations, and then they're denied after all of the work that they put in, out of stupidity, ignorance. So I have to say something and do something to take that off them, right? If you understand what I'm saying. So I just let them know, since you want to wait and see, I got a few more storms. I got one severe one I'm sending, and a couple more that's not quite as severe, but it's going to get your attention. And since Maryland is, well, I won't say that, but Maryland is kind of pet peeve of mine. I kind of like Maryland. I'll see which one I send here. People got to see. And that's in the book also, the Son of Man called on the four winds. He didn't call on them, send them to white folk. Right.
My mother used to say a saying growing up to me. She says, those who don't listen must feel.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
One other question I have for you. It is said that, I'm just taking a look even at your book, it is said that you are Allah in person.
Yes, sir.
What does that mean? Could you elaborate on that?
It means that I am the all in all. I am the individual that carries the knowledge, or have the knowledge, or that is the knowledge of all. I see all, I know all, and I hear all of what I have created, or what the original creator has done. If you understand, I'm a new Allah. Okay. I'm like Allah's Allah. I'm here doing a duty for the original Allah to get rid of something that he was unable to get rid of. In order to do that, I have to have full knowledge of everything that he's the author of. That's why that Torah was given to me. I was like a reason the Bible always said we took Solomon and gave him a little knowledge of everything. Well, this is what they did. The God that was here wasn't able to build this, and that's why the Lord was telling, I think it was Moses, you shall have a son, and his name shall be Solomon, and he shall be my son. He's my son, and that's literally what's taking place. If I answered the question.
You did. There is so much more that I want to ask you.
Okay.
But I recognize the time that we have available to us. And I want to give you a distinct opportunity with all that is going on, even within our nation and within our world, to address those who may be listening to this program. Any remarks that you may have toward our nation and toward our world?
Yes, sir. Well, as far as the nation itself, it's easy to make a change, especially if it's for a divine change or a right change for humanity. It's easy to do that. It's extremely difficult to do it if you try to make it and incorporate the wrong. Right and wrong cannot be partners.
Right.
Just like East and West cannot meet each other.
So the Bible says evil cannot abide with good.
Yes, sir. Right. There you go. So it can't happen. However, since I wasn't here, we can understand that it may be very difficult for that to take place. Now, since I am here, only thing this nation has to do is make it known that they really want to make a change. And you can't trick me. So I may do something to help them do that. for us as a people or whatnot. You should take advantage of what's being said, what you hear, what you see, what has already been expressed. And if you're religious and you call yourself Christians, I'll explain the Bible to you. I am understanding. Everybody else lives in questions. I live in answers. So if you take advantage of that, you'd be surprised what's laid up. Like the book reads, I have a whole floodgates of blessings waiting, but the gate is closed. And when I open it up, I want to really open it up. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here. I just want to get rid of this, start all over and go.
Royall, I thank you for your time, for your patience, for your humility. I sense a great deal of love, even abounding from you, and wisdom. And I just want to thank you for this opportunity to dialogue with you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining us here at Right to the Point. Welcome to Right to the Point. I am the Reverend Carl Lashley from the People's Community Baptist Church in Silver Spring, Maryland. Our honored guest today is the distinguished spiritual head of the United Nation of Islam, Royall. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yes, sir. Pleasure to be here.
In our last segment, we were speaking about yourself, and we were trying to familiarize ourselves with you. And we spoke about you as the nucleus. I hope in this segment we'll be able to expand the nucleus out and to begin to talk about the cell. But I believe where we left off with our last question, I asked you what it meant for you to be Allah in person.
Well, it means that I'm the total representation of all the power of the universe. Everything that is, you're looking at it. In other words, this is the nuclear of everything that is. And proper pronunciation of my name is Royall, not Royall.
Okay.
And the reason why that is, if it was R-O-Y-A-L, it would be Royall. Right. However, the spelling of my name is R-O-Y-A-L-L. Makes it Royall. And in the purpose of that is, Roy means to judge. And A-L-L, judge all. If it's in Arabic, Roy means to summon. A-L-L still means all. So no one has the authority to do that unless he is the author of creation. So that's what it means. Then say Royall, Allah in person. This is telling everyone who Allah is, not Allah who came in Royall's person.
Right.
It's showing it. Well, that's two different entities you're talking about.
Right.
Allah that's in my person. Like I got two personalities. like it was referred to when I came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. The entity of me actually did all the work. Farad allowed me to do it in his body. I'm in my own royal robe now. So that's why this body, it responds to what this kind of power demands. So,
in the Christian context, we're used to speaking about God as this being who is removed from the universe, who doesn't involve himself in the affairs of men. It sounds like when you speak about Allah, that you're not talking about that kind of God that we've been taught about.
No, sir.
You're talking about a God who is active in his universe.
Absolutely. In the absence of my presence here, and even the original Allah, then people were allowed to operate on what they think, especially the man that we gave the right to rule, the man of sin, for 6,000 years, 6 days, which he is now, it's expired. So in my absence, yes, the only thing that people could operate on, they knew it had to be something else. It's like you walk into your house in the morning, or you get up and your wife or someone in the family has a pot of coffee on. You don't have to see the coffee because you smell it. And you can identify, man, that's coffee. And it smells refreshing and inviting. Well, that's the same type of residue that was left into man and mankind about me, the Supreme Being. He couldn't actually see the Supreme Being because I wasn't physically here. However, the residue that's already in them makes them to always know that there's something. If I could just get to it. If I can't, I do firmly and really believe because of that residue.
Why was the man of sin permitted to rule for so long?
Because in the initial creation, after Allah had put into motion that which pleased him, other thoughts kept coming up in his mind that he identified as not being thoughts of his. So since there was no record of any kind of existence of life before him, then he wondered, where's this coming from? I didn't produce it. I've searched everything that I produce. I can't find anything that's producing that. What is it? So then he had to go on an experiment to try to find out, what is this? And then he found out the thing that was causing him to have these different kind of thoughts when he was in his fullness, meaning that he was spiritual, mental, now he's physical also. The material that he was using had negative in it. So this negative had a way of whispering into his mind suggestions. So he finally figured out, oh, it's just material. It was like some people, they can't wear cotton next to themselves, whatnot. They get the itching. What is this? Oh, it's the material. Now, if they don't have no other garments to put on, now they got to go naked.
Right.
See? So this is the same thing with this. The original Allah said, man, he tried many things to get rid of it. But he couldn't get rid of it unless he got rid of himself. So what he did, he said, well, man, I'm going to withdraw myself and just be spiritual and mental. When I'm in that form, the negative can't come in. Right. So I will deal that way and watch from afar to see what possibly can take place for me to be able to come back to be physical also. So what I will do, I don't know just how far this negative will go. So what I will do, I will allow a man to be made just for that purpose. And he will be the man of sin. Because the suggestions that's been coming to me is offering me or giving me an opportunity, a suggestion that I go against what I've done. That's transgressing my law. So that's sin. So I will not do it. So I do want to know, what will it do if I allow it to go without being checked? So what I'll do, I'll make a man that will do it. So we made this man. Like the book says, let us make man. So we made it. Not let us make black man. Black man is created, he's not made. So we made the man that's ruling today, the Caucasian. And let him say, now, okay, go for it. We're just going to watch you. We're not going to bother you. We're just going to watch you. We'll even send help to you for you to develop, but we want you to go as far as you can go. So we know you didn't create anything. So everything that you're going to do, you got to take it from what we've done. So we will help you. We'll send our woman to you to help you. We'll let certain scientists come and show you certain things and show you how to build bridges and how to build cities and how to build skyscrapers and how to build, roads through the mountains. And we'll show you how to do all that. All of those are mechanical things. But your real purpose is, how are you going to affect the righteous? What kind of effect will you have on them? Do you have more power to do away with them than they do to save? Do they have more lasting power than you do to make sure that you get rid of them? We want to see this. And then when it was put into a question at the end, we asked Satan, why did you get my people? Why do you do that? He said, well, I had no power over them. Well, we saw it. Right. I only suggested and they came. You see? So that lets me know if I call to them with the right call, they will come. Because he didn't have enough power to take them out. So the residue in me, of me, that's still in them, when I call to that residue, it will answer. And if they refuse to answer, there's a mechanism that we got set in that they have a natural fear of the power of this author of this residue. Meaning that they fear God, they're not daredevils. So when the storm comes, and they know it's going to come because I said so, and when, and how, and what minute it's going to arrive, they're going to say, this man, it'd be like, I think I'm going to my father's house. You see? So, we're not white folk, because I'm not there, right? That kind of way, right? They have done their part. And in the book, it lets us know that sin entered into the world by one man. It's a Caucasian. Others are little devils, but he's the chief one. He's the one. And he sets up a system to make sure everybody sins, even the righteous. You know, if you're going to do something right, you can't go work for him and expect to be right. Right. Because that's not his forte. Right. You know, he takes things and dress it up to make it look good, to invite you. That's why they even come up with a word called temptation. He's the master of it. He does it subliminally. He does it right out and tempt you. And if you go for it, he said, well, I didn't have no power over you. You know, I tempt you and you can't.
A lot of what you're saying resonates with me because I have heard it before in the person known as Jesus.
Right.
We've been taught in the Christian tradition a lot about Jesus, and I get the sense that maybe you might have some insight that we have not necessarily tapped into, that you'd be willing to share about the person called Jesus.
Well, Jesus was an idea of us that we put into motion to make sure that the man of sin that we allowed to be made had no excuse for being sinful, as though he didn't know the law. You know, that's why, what is it, Good Samaritan, what it was, asked him, right, when he asked, or the lawyer,
the Good Samaritan, and the Levite,
you know, he asked him, said, well, what must I do? Right. You know, and I think Jesus said something about the law, you know the law, how it goes.
Luke chapter 10.
Oh, you read on it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Well, anyhow, as it is written, what really did take place, we wanted this particular individual to represent us to the ruling class of people, not the black people, right? To the ruling class of people. And we did not let Jesus know what he was to do. We just made him do it. And he had to have a love and a thirst for this to make sure that, in other words, we couldn't let him know this man is a sinner. Right. You know, you wasting your time. We couldn't do it that way. We had to make him think, you know, he could really be reformed. He could really change. He just don't know. So we made Jesus really take that on. So we prepared him because we took Joseph. We put our spirit into Joseph. Like the book reads, in the form of a well-made man. Joseph was pretty good. And we sent him to Mary. He impregnated Mary with his genes. And, you know, and when you really want a particular person to do a particular duty, you have to get the right person or persons together, especially if it's producing a child. The genes have got to mix so that it can hold the knowledge or react to the knowledge that you want to put in it, or the entity that's going to take that body. For the listener, for the viewing audience, it's the same purpose of me showing up in a suit. It's supposed to cause you to see that I'm civilized. At least I think enough of myself to present myself to others in a very acceptable manner. Right. So this is the same way we do with placing the genes together so it would be acceptable for the Christian called soul to take this body. So Joseph and Mary was perfect fit to produce this body. Now, they say immaculate conception, yes, because it wasn't that he didn't have a father, physical father. He didn't have a physical father that taught him. Since, and there's something else too, Mary was only 13 when she gave birth to Jesus. Right. Now, in this world, what people think, if you impregnate a girl that's 13 now, and she informs the law, you go to jail. But the man that is most talked about more than any other person was born from a mother that was 13. That's right. All right, now, there's no sin in that. That's right. If she is not going to be his teacher. Right. Now, if she was going to be the teacher of Jesus, to make him be who he is, then it would be wrong. Because she would not have learned enough and become confirmed enough about life to convey to this child to make him confirmed. So it would be wrong for her to have a child at 13. But since she was not to be the teacher, nor Joseph to be the teacher, all we needed was her to be able to give birth. Right. And white people do it like surrogate mothers. Give them the seed and they have the child, before you pay them. Well, that principle, okay, Mary, have the child, but we will take it and teach it. All you got to do is have your body ready to have it. So that's what took place. So that's why you don't talk a whole lot about Mary, but you talk Jesus, 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 because the author of his knowledge came from us. So we were really his parents. The same as like I was telling you, I can't give no credit to my biological parents for me being who I am. They were placed together to produce this body. If you understand what I'm saying. So that's what it is with Jesus now. Jesus, we are called him to really believe that he was to administer to the ruling class of people because they had power and sway over the ordinary people. Right. We did this to make sure that white folks could not come back on us and say, well, you never reminded us. We can say, yes, we did. And the greatest one that we sent to you was the last one. We sent 3 major ones to you. Every 2,000 years, we sent one to you. Jesus was the last one, the greatest one we sent to you, because that was going to be the last one. Now, of the righteous. Now, there was another one that was sent or raised up, Prophet Muhammad. Well, he was Caucasian. So we even did that to make sure they have no excuse. No excuse. And because they are not created and they're made, they have a problem of remembering what is created or what is real nature. So we allowed writing, printing, things in ink. So that because they forget, they go and read it. Right. It's still there. Right. So they don't have no excuse. Well, I forgot. Right. It's been a long time ago. No, sir. Since your official paper don't hold this, we put it on imitation paper, meaning official paper you're thinking, your memory. Right. So all you have to do is go and read it. And that's why they say you're supposed to, the Quran means to read often or to quote often. Well, that's for them. Because they're not from creation, they're from another person. So now, when they speak with me or I'm speaking, they know I'm speaking, they watch the program, they read the books. They can't really say anything to me like, well, you're prejudiced. Because I'm not speaking in that vein. I'm speaking, look, man, if you want to be saved, you know you were wrong. And we allowed you to be wrong. We're not coming to you because you were wrong. We come because it's time for wrong to be up. So now if you don't want to suffer the wrath of what wrong brings, come on. And if you say no, well, hey, I can't go with you. And I'm not going to let you come with me until you change. Now, if you show the necessary effort that you really want to change and you're unable to change as what you should, then I will help you. Right. I can change your nature. However, you got to show you like taking that step, one step towards me, then I take the next 7. Right. You got to make the step. So that's what it was with Jesus. And after after he accomplished what we wanted to see and what we sent to these ruling class of people, then we let Jesus know. We sent a scientist to him, and we let him know, say, if you really want to do the will of God, the will of Allah, leave them people alone. They got 2,000 more years to live. And Jesus said, what? 2,000 years? Oh, I'm not hanging around for that. In other words, he knew that he couldn't go against God or the supreme being. In other words, the scientists taught him this is a plan. And we let him know why he was here, what he did. And this is what gave him the confidence to tell the Jews, you're not of my father. You're of your father. So he's talking about 2 different fathers. Right. If you were of my father, you would love me. But he wasn't saying that in the beginning. Right. He was talking to him because he thought all of us are from the same father. Right. So because of that, he spoke something that would not come to reality until the end of the 2,000 years. So what the white folks did was took it and put it in print form and put it in such a way that the Jew people put you in a mystical thing. To keep you, they put all these signs, whatnot, that agrees with your nature, but it never led to a definite. Right. So you be hooping and hollering, I want to let Jesus know I really love him. You do, but you can't love him the way that he should be loved because there is no base that you're starting from. They made sure they made it that way. And they made it where if you're going to be with Jesus, Jesus is, he loves all people. So you got to accept him too. And that's where everybody comes up with their difficulty. Now, if you want to know if everybody accepts Jesus and everybody's like, go to the bank and try to borrow some money on the name of Jesus. Go to the NASA and tell NASA you shouldn't go out into space to this particular planet or put nothing on it because Jesus says you're not supposed to do that. See if they're paying attention to you. They look at you and laugh.
Right, write us off, right?
Yeah, write you off. So this has been a trick until it actually showed up. And if it was not a trick, it would not be in Malachi, if I'm not mistaken. Just before that great and dreadful day, I will send you Elijah, the prophet. However, after that, I will come. This is, I think, in Numbers. And take you out of that 400 years or 430 years that you've been under oppression. I, not Jesus, not no minister, not no messenger, not no prophet, not no apostle. I myself, God himself, I will come and I will bring you out with great substance and judge the man that put his foot on, had you under this affliction. I will do this. So Jesus had a limitation. He was a messenger, so to say, of justice, but he didn't enforce it. So this is why the Christians say they call Jesus, then they say Jesus Christ. They're really two different people. They're two different periods. The Jesus came with justice, but he didn't enforce it. The Jesus Christ has to enforce the justice. So, and then doing the enforcing, he crushes the wicked and saves the righteous. Right. So now the Jesus had already came. He let the white man know, and then the white man put it in the Bible, whatnot. He twisted it up, but he put enough in there to keep you interested. So when he's questioned, why didn't you let everybody know? Why didn't you let these black people know? Well, I told them that right there in the Bible. I told them, I put it in the science book. But the way he did it, if you didn't have a base, you never would get it. But he's putting in there like, well, he did tell us. And he's tricking. And what makes it so masterful, he tricks his own people. It ain't like all white people know this. They don't. Right. It's only a certain number of people to put the Bible together. It's only a certain number of people that actually runs the government. But he makes everybody think, you're a part of this, you vote. You got some say. But in reality, you don't.
Why do you think it may be, and I'm thinking about some of my own colleagues and some of my own fellow believers who will listen to this program, why do you think it may be hard for them to accept what you just said?
Because they have to change. No one likes change unless they know what the outcome of the change is going to be definitely, mathematically. As long as there's a or mystery or a hint of not knowing what the change is going to do and what they're going to have to go through while they're changing. Right. They'd rather say, no, I'll just watch. They don't want to change. And when you start doing things that are truthful, you have got to change. Right. But when you look around, you don't see nobody doing it. It's a discouraging thing to be truthful. Nobody else is truthful with you. So, you do a little bit true. And then go ask God to forgive you for the wrong that you did do. And ask him to bless you, do a little bit more true. But in reality, that's just going along, to get along, or get along to go along, however it goes. Now, this is why that kind of scenario brought me here. I'm to end that nagging to the original Allah that whispers to him, like they got in the Quran, in firm resolution, evil suggestions. I'm to put an end to that period where it cannot happen no more. That's why the scientists and even the original Allah can do whatever he wants to anybody, except me. They don't, since I'm new, and I don't have that part they're trying to get rid of. I'm absent of it. So whatever I want to do, they can't stop it. I can tune in on them. They can't tune in on me. If you understand what I'm saying. So that's what's happening. And this is an accepted reality from all of the wise men, all of the ones that was in heaven, that carried the prayers and the hopes and wishes and will of the righteous. They up in heaven, so to say, according to what the book is, up in heaven, and there's got all these vials filled with these prayers, to present to the Lord and so forth, whatnot, I'm answering all that.
Tell me about the founding of the United Nations of Islam. When did you start that community?
Well, we got it started, I think it's 1991, if I'm not mistaken. And we did it because the refusal of Minister Farrakhan to accept what I am and what I have to offer. Because I went to him. The Nation of Islam really got started by me. Not in this fleshly body. But I was in Master Prophet Muhammad. Like I said, I was the one that raised the messenger. I was the one that backed it. So the Nation of Islam really is my creation. But since it was loaned over to another person, the vineyard, so to say, right, I went to him and let him know, I don't need to be seen. What is needed is for you to express what the people needs, and let's develop what they need. He rejected it. So Allah is independent. Because I make it possible for you to do something, don't mean because you're not going to do it, now I'm stuck. I do it myself. So since it wasn't going to go no place with him under the title, the Nation of Islam, well, I want to unite everyone into truth. So we started the United Nation of Islam. And the one that's at the helm of it is Allah himself. It isn't something I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure that this was the next step that was promised to all of the ones that followed Elijah and the rest of the ones that would be coming. And it's already printed, and it's in the books, in the literature, whatnot, the literature, that the preachers would be the last one to come. If you understand what I'm saying, right? So this could have happened much sooner if the minister had accepted it. He wouldn't have to go march and ask white folks to allow us to do thus and so. Do it yourself. I would have caused that to already have taken place. It wouldn't have to be no Katrina. It wouldn't have to been that. We've been too busy developing different things. But now, since the black man won't develop nothing, then I got to let him know, look, I'm calling. This is the voice. You ignoring it? Okay, I'll call on the winds and see if you ignore that. But the stagnation of all that stemmed from him. So that's why I started the United Nation of Islam. Instead of just continuing in the Nation of Islam.
Right. Tell me, the times in which we live, they're very interesting. They're very interesting times. In light of the decisions that the leaders in this country are making, could you speak on where the current decisions of the political establishment will take us? Where will this road end? Where will Bush and his militaristic program, what will it bring for this nation? Because when I look out at it now, at no other period in human history has there been such evil conducted in the earth and done so in the name of God.
Well, where it's going to get them is total misery. And at the same time, they have an act of sucking everybody in to what they're doing. And this is going to bring them to the deepest pit of hell. Hell is a place. We can say North America is it, but there's another place that's even more intense than that. That's going to take care of the keepers of hell. Right. In other words, it's going to turn on itself. Right. If you understand what I'm saying. I hear you. Because of their refusal to ignore or to get back up off them what they're doing. You know, there is places on the earth that is houses quicksand, and it's usually always found where there is a bunch of unattractive vegetation, right, and animals, right, snakes and we allowed, I don't know if it's going to be too heavy or not, but since you asked me, before we allowed this man to exist, we had avenues in and out of the earth. And because we were going to let this man rule, we filled up all of the entrances with sand. So he couldn't get in. But like it reads in the Bible, I think Jesus was saying, I must go away. And I'm going to prepare a house for you, for within my Father's house there are many kingdoms. In my Father's house. His Father's house is this planet.
Right.
It's not in the sky in some mystic. The planet is the house. And he lives in the planet. And in this planet there are many different cities as we speak. So to keep the man from going in, we fill up all the doorways with sand.
Wow.
And the power that holds the sand, because we didn't fill it up and then the sand just come down and went into the city.
Right.
We have a power there, like a force field. And because the power is there, and it makes the sand move, that's what makes it quick. So when you get in it, if you stay still, you're more like to stay on top of it.
Right.
But because you wiggle, every time you move, you sink down. Because of the power that's got the sand churning, holding it.
Right.
If you understand what I'm saying.
I understand.
So they have got themselves in a situation where they're in that kind of quagmire. They're like in quicksand and can't get out unless they have an outside force to pull them out.
Right.
And you're talking to it. But they have to make the right attempt or the right cry or the right appeal. They can't say like they did when we got them out of the hills and caves of Europe. You know, they can't start to agree with what's going on because they got sick of, how they were living. So they told Musa a whole bunch of things to agree with just because they wanted to change their lifestyle. And we can see they didn't really mean it because you can see what they're doing now. Right. So this same thing has come around again. So it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. It's just that now we are weaker and wiser. But the principle of the same thing is happening. So they got themselves caught in that kind of quicksand due to their own making.
Right. Right.
But like always, there's always a way out.
We as African Americans have, when we identify ourselves as such, only because I think we've never been taught anything else. We know very little about our own history. We know only what we're taught. Could you enlighten us about our history from where we have come from and where as a people we are going?
Well, that's a statement that's contradictory. The black man is the creator. He's a created man. He don't have history. And where we come from. We haven't come from anything. We've taken a downfall. We're the real gods of what exists. Everything that's real. Everything that is a law of God. We're the author of it. And since we have allowed ourselves to be taken away from it, we have gone from that. We have fallen. Like it reads in about the fallen angels and whatnot. Right. We have fallen from that. So we haven't come from something. Like we was bad, now we've come from that into good, like we've elevated. No, sir. That's totally backwards. So we don't deal with history. History in a way, if we compare making a camera to see this as compared to a vision. Right. So if the black man say well, he made laid out the city, the stoplights and all these kind of things, right? And Charlie Bruce made the blood plasma and all this kind of things of that nature. Before this man existed, we didn't need it. So if we can say the black man's history, that ain't history. It's a shame. Right. That's his shame. Right. That he, Right. We have to deal with what he really does, and he's a creator. Now, in the absence of him creating, if we want to compare ourselves with the other man, then we talk about history. Right. But we don't really have no story. His story. It's the white man's story. Everything we do in this state, we do it from the base of his thinking. That's why we always say, well, we believe. That's the base of his thinking. The base of ours, we know.
How do we get back to this place? How do we come back? How do we arrive back at this point where we are what our I don't know if destiny is the word I want to use, but what we have always been. How do we return back to this place? How do we go back?
I'm taking you. And how I'm taking you is causing you first to start to provide the things that you really need. In the process of doing that, as you are doing, as it reads, experience is your best teacher. Now, after I have taught and shared with you what is necessary to get you started, the same principle is what they did with me. I had to have a kickstart, but I had to have the will to want to pursue it and see where it's going. And by doing that, one step leads to the next, and the next. And that's why it says, you become weaker and wiser, because wiser you are, the less lifting you do, less back muscles you need. Now you become wise enough that you can think of a thing and will it. You can make it, just from your pure thought. You can tune in and talk. You don't need the telephone.
It's interesting you should share this, and the reason why I say that is I distinctly remember growing up, and remember having conversations to the like with other peers of mine who would say similar things that you just said, in terms of they sensed even within themselves that there was a point that they could arrive at where they could think and things could be.
Yes, sir. A lot of black people do that. Sometimes white people do it also. We let them see a few things, but a lot of black people can do that. However, they are not in the proper thinking to know how to do it at will. Sometimes they do it, and it's to them it's like an accident or something that just happened. And this man, boy, that was luck, or that was a coincidence. Such thing as a coincidence. It's just that you don't know what you're doing. So since you don't know and it happened anyhow, well, you can call it luck. You can call it that. But if you're going to be your real self, such thing as luck or coincidence with a black man. No such thing.
Now, as a Christian, is it possible for me to make the return, and still bear witness to the little bit that I have come to learn about myself through the one called Jesus the Christ?
Right.
Is that still possible?
Oh, it's very possible. As a man thinketh, so is he. So, and as the thoughts develop, and so will he. That's what develops the man. When you operating, like you said, what's that saying? When I was a child, I did childish things. When I became a man, I
put away childish things.
Right. Well, the thing about really becoming a man is the understanding of what is. A lot of people don't like to say Allah or God. They talk about the is.
Right.
And whatever it is, there's got to be an author of it.
Right.
But if they just stick with the is, they can make it. They don't have to say Allah. They don't have to say Jesus. They don't have to say God. They don't have to put no person to it. The formula is already laid out. If you work it, it'll work for you the same way it works for the author of it. So until we arrive to that kind of plateau, we put a person's name to it, so it gives us an aim. Like I used to, like I said, I worked on a farm, and I used to pride myself in making a straight row. Well, how I would do it, I would pick a tree at the end of the field, right, and I would drive straight for that tree, and I had a marker down. So when I got to the other end, I pulled the marker and turned it. Now I got a marker to go down. That's when I first getting started. I got to pick up something and make it. So, and then building, I think they call it a plumb line.
Right.
So doing that, it makes you grow into things that is greater and greater and greater, and you don't put no person to it. Now, until then, like I said, the tree was the person, so to say, or the object. While you're growing, while you're trying to get straight, while you're in the process, you put Jesus there. You're going towards it. After you get there, I finally got there to the tree. Now what am I gonna do? I gotta turn around and go back to the mark that I made. I still got something to follow, but now it's not a tree.
Right.
It's just a line.
Right.
It ain't a person.
Right.
It's not an object, so to say. It's something that I did that I'm following.
Right.
You see? So when you really evolve to where you're supposed to be, you won't look at me. It won't be needed. You won't look at Jesus. It won't be needed. You do that while you aren't making the journey. So will Christians be able to make the turn? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This is why, it says in the Bible about, returning to your first love.
Right.
Right. It didn't say return to Jesus.
Right.
It says know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. It didn't say know Jesus. Right. But you won't know the truth until you put Jesus up and go follow it until you get to it. Then you get to it and say, oh, or you get to what Jesus is pointing to, which is me. He said, oh, I made it. I can go now. I don't need Jesus. I was Royall for a while and I see what he's doing. I got it. I really don't even need him anymore, but I do need the system that he operates in.
I remember reading in Deuteronomy, and I think I shared this with you before, that when God sends his messenger, his prophet, he sends him in the likeness of the people.
Right.
And I believe it's for that particular that particular reason, because we need something toward which we strive. And even in this day, I mean, looking back on my generation, I recognize that we need something toward which we can strive. Something that we have not found articulated and or demonstrated even within the church, the vehicle of the church. And I take that as a critique, and I take that as a charge to my own ministry too. But I celebrate that you lift that up for us today.
Yes, sir. Well, you know, I'm glad that you made that statement. The reason why I appear the way I appear, because when you see me, immediately you see something wrong. That's to let you know what I see. Right. When I see you. Right. You understand what I'm saying? When I see you, I'm looking at the God. Right. But there's something wrong. When you see me, I say, well, I am God, but you see something wrong. If you understand. Right. So it's like, I don't frighten you. I don't make you go in pretending, oh man, this is God. I see the halo around him. And now you all tight. And I got to do everything right when you don't know what right is. Right. So I make you very comfortable being in my presence. Right. And I did go with a sister that she called herself having my best interest in mind and her heart. And she knew the people that actually made the teeth. You know, you go to the dentist, they got to send away the mold and all that kind of stuff to the people that make it. So she carried me to the place. They made me a set of dentures. And I wore them for a while and just didn't sit. Not that they were uncomfortable in my mouth. There was something in my thinking that just, you know, like you get an organ transplant and they got to give you all these different steroids and things to make the body accept it. Right. I just couldn't accept them teeth because it wasn't me. I said, I'll do without them. And I saw one of the scientists came and we were talking. He said, well, what you do with your teeth? I said, they're in the jar. He said, well, we already knew you wasn't going to accept that. I said, well, why is that? He said, because it's not you. Everything about me, you know, like I don't wear no watches, no rings, right. And, you know, earrings. None of that do I wear because it's not me. I'm decently dressed because that's the way it's dressing, like you say, in how our people dress this. Right. The likeness. Yes, sir. Right, the likeness part. However, this will change after the level of intelligence has been elevated. However, our people must demonstrate the fear of me, the way it should be feared. So since they don't, you know, I look like them, they think, well, he ain't nobody. You know, unless they come to a meeting or in a setting such as this, I look so normal and so average. You know, people say, well, hey, if he's all that, how come you don't get some dentures? And I have a lot of people tell me, man, why don't you fix your grill? You know, they don't know who they're talking to. Right. They don't know why I'm not doing it right. I'm going to grow my teeth back. Show my own self that I really am God. All right. You know, so, you know, that's what's happening with that.
The interesting thing that I find too.
May I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
Because this is very important. I'm not asking no preacher, minister, or whatever they call it, the man of the cloth, to come and be with me because I want you to be with me. If you have a congregation, you need to know what to teach them. Most of them know this, and because they think they have to immediately start teaching what I'm saying without understanding it, they're going to lose their parishioners. Right? Not that way. I will set up a class to teach you how to teach your people. It's not necessary that everybody see me. That's not necessary. Right. That would be like, if that was so, I'd be like, you know, self-aggrandizing. I'm the man, you look at me. That's not what's happening here. If a young brother like you, handsome, you want to be yourself, you want to extend yourself to others so that they will learn, you know, from the Word of God and see how it really becomes real. And, you know, they talking about you serve a living God. Well, that can be true. It can't be true if you're doing it in a mystical sense. You're fooling yourself. So if the ministers or preachers are taught how to administer to their people, it will be just as exciting to them as it is to you.
A critique that I have always maintained and will continue to maintain about my colleagues is that we have spent so much time learning knowledge or gaining wisdom from the so-called European. So much so that what we find and or what we express as our own thinking is not our own. It's really that of another.
Yes, sir.
But the greatest challenge that I have as a young minister is challenging my colleagues to come to a point where their thinking is no longer the expression of another man.
Yes, sir.
And that seems like an uphill battle to me.
Well, yes, sir, because in their mind, there's two things. If they really believe in what they're teaching, it's like you're taking away from them their security. And if they have applied themselves in such a way, the proceeds of what they're doing is helping them to live, that's threatened. And that's a no-no.
Right.
No. Right. They say God, whatnot, but God is on this money, and God we trust, and He's white. Right. So if you're gonna come up in a way where you're gonna threaten that, they're more or less kind of shooing you back up a little bit. They might watch you. And if it looks like, well, they really got to make a decision, really got to make a change, they just drop you. See, and that's why when they do come, they coming. When they come with what I'm doing, it ain't nothing that they're doing that I can't offer them, and even in a greater way. Greater knowledge. And the very first thing that I offer is everyone that comes to me, first thing is peace of mind. Not peace of mind tomorrow. Right. When you meet me the very first time, if you're going to have a real meaningful dialogue with me, you will leave with a peace of mind. First. Then if you accept it and you like that, then you want to apply yourself in the teaching and learning as to how to really be yourself. Then I protect you like a father protects his child while the mother's teaching.
How long will your patience abide?
With particularly
our people.
Well, us as a people, not much longer. Individuals, it depends upon the person. You know, say what I mean. Now, if you come and say, well, I'm not going to come and actually accept this in a way where I'm joining or to be a member. However, I will do everything that I possibly can and what I have to make sure this is magnified. Well, then I will have as much mercy with you as you allow me to have. However, as for us as a people, it's almost up. In other words, you have got to make that turn. You've got to make that turn. In the prayer, my life and my death are all for Allah. Well, if you ain't going to live it, well, it'll be for me and your death. If you understand what I'm saying. Right. So, because this is real and it has to happen. It's not debatable. It's not, you don't. All of you as a people don't have the power to stop this. So it would be wise, it would behoove you to make sure that you pursue this in the right manner. It don't mean you got to stop doing everything you do. You got to understand everything that you're doing. And then if you understand it, then you can make the decision, I got to stop doing that, or I got to increase that, or I got to add to it, or I got to subtract from it. You can make a definite decision. But just going along, thinking that somebody else is going to make it easier, make it better for you, because that's what has to happen. Life just can't keep going this way, man. It's getting terrible. What you doing to stop it? The people that's got all this money, they almost are blindsided to see the suffering of the people. You take poor Michael Jackson and Jordan, right? Oprah. All these people rappers that's got all this money. White folks don't mind them having it because they don't know what to do with it. They are frightened to death if I have it. Because they know I'm going to take what they cherish as being God and make it work. And it's going to attract our people. But as long as they got it, they ain't worried about that. Or they take it back anytime they get ready.
1 John reminds me, one of the letters, the epistles in the New Testament, reminds us that when God comes, and what I'm learning to do in this conversation is to look past what I see as flesh and blood.
Yes, sir.
And to look at the essence. Reminds us that when God comes, He won't come to the world first, but He'll come to His people first.
Right.
He'll bear a message to His people. And I've often wondered why it is that black people were the biggest sufferers of Hurricane Katrina. And I believe that I'm coming to a point in my life where I'm acknowledging that God is coming to his people first.
Yes, sir. I've actually, like I say, we raised the messenger up, let him speak. At the same time, we allowed Martin Luther King to come up.
Right.
It's like we made two mountains because our people was in the valley. And so, now which mountain do you want to come up on? So then, after that decision was made, then I personally come myself. So, and I'm taking away all the other mountains. It ain't gonna be but one.
Right.
And I come to my people because this was the plan from the beginning. We told the devil, look, I'm gonna loan you my vineyard and my people. Let my son go away and be with you and whatnot. And you wrote about it being prodigal son. He was right there with you, helping you do all these kind of things and whatnot. And the treatment that you gave him, he finally decided, hey, he had enough. He's coming on back home, right? So all these things have been lived. Now I'm here to make sure that the promise that the God was supposed to do, that part hasn't been lived yet. So I'm here now to make sure it is lived and brought into reality. Everybody that really knows me, they share with me a love that they can't even pronounce in this language. It's like, I know it because they express it to me in wordless knowledge. And I never take advantage of it. In other words, I don't make them do something more. Like I said, I don't put a burden on them more than they can bear.
Right.
Right. So that's what I actually do. And it really brings about a real, genuine, divine love from the person towards anyone that does that.
I got to admit, your words, they resonate with me. In particular, your comment that a lot has been done, so to speak, to mystify the text.
Right.
So what we're waiting on, and even contemporary popular Christianity, with which I have many a bone to pick with, we are expecting a God to come from the sky, out of the clouds, in big majestic robes with angels following suit after him. And what we forget is even the reminder as Christians of the word of the Master Jesus when he said that we don't see with the physical eye, we see with the eye of faith, which I really think is the eye of the heart. And I'm seeing something here even in this conversation. And what I want to ask you is this, because I sense the truth in your words. I sense the wisdom that is abounding from you. What will the future look like if we as a people decide that we're going to choose the right path? What will the future look like for us?
As is written, I think it's in the Bible there, during Solomon's reign of building the righteous kingdom, he never rained on it while they were working. That's a hint to let you know the favor that I'm going to bestow on all of those that decide to participate in building this righteous kingdom. Everything that you can think of and that has not been thought of. No eye has seen it.
That's right.
No ear has heard it, except me. That's what's going to be affordable to you. In other words, it's going to be a different light where it's not harsh on your eyes. It's going to be a greeting that you'll be able to receive from everything, even the plants and animals that will greet you. And you will greet them. Everything will have a perfect existence in their place. So, and the place of the Creator is wherever he wants to be, when he wants to be, and everything serves him. So, and the exciting part about it is that there is always another level to go to. When you create, and you are the creator, there is no boundary, right? So, the future holds no obstacles. That's the future. So that's what we have to look forward to. I will produce a system where there is no negative to hinder you. What has happened, now, we don't have too much time. What has happened, the negative we allowed to have thought. We allowed it to have power, right? I'm going to put an end to that. Not an end to negative where negative don't have no power, right? It's going to be a negative, but it's not a negative that is threatening, right? It's a negative that's going to work for us, right? Not a negative that has power to think, right, to come against us, right? That's what I'm getting rid of. And that's what you will be living in, and there will be no death. You will not go to no grave nor be cremated. You will live. If you want to change your appearance and change your body, you can do it at your own will. And you can go to whatever planet you want to go, or any place you want to go into the universe. You will be able to go, and you won't have to get permission.
Your words remind me of the ancient wisdom that was contained within our elders, that I have only heard, never read, but heard passed down from teacher to student.
Yes, sir.
And I wish there were many more who had an opportunity to hear this wisdom, even as they are hearing it now.
Yes, sir.
And I pray that we will open our hearts to be receptive of what God is capable of doing with us as a people. I'll leave the last couple of minutes to you to address your audience in particular. Anything that you would like to say?
Well, I would like to say that, I'm really pleased when I'm rewarding people. Bringing on destruction is not a rewarding thing. It is, it's like a parent has to chastise the child. It ain't something he really wants to do. He'd much rather the child perform himself in such a way where he got some giving. And it's something else, too. The ones that study the Bible, and whatnot, or the Word of God, after being associated with me or my literature or tapes and whatnot, you're going to get a much deeper insight in what the Bible is saying, what it's telling you. And it gives you a much better foundation to be able to be strong at what you're delivering. The greatest teacher is the soft-spoken one.
Yeah.
He makes you listen.
Yeah.
The man that's in the, Christian call it pulpit, I'd rather say rostrum. If he got to go through all the raising of the voice and go through, it's because he really don't have nothing to say. He really don't have anything that's really meaningful to the people, so he just deals with feelings. And since feelings are directed by intelligence, they change. If you don't have none, if you don't have no intelligence, they change at will. Whatever the strongest force comes, that's where you go with. But if you have intelligence, like I say, fools rush in with wise men fear to tread. They're wise, but they have fear. Fools don't have no fear. They rush in and get killed, all kinds of foolishness. So that's what I would like for the people to know. I'm much more pleasant when you allow me to be so. And I'm here for you. I'm here for our people. Make sure they come out and be saved. And the white man, if he wants to, I'm not going to give you no more knowledge, but I will make it where you can be relieved if you so want it.
So our audience, I pray that you hear the words of instruction that have been given to us. And remember the words of Solomon the king, who says, in all thy getting, get understanding.